Usually those go like hand in hand. You do one like right after the other. What did you?
Yeah, I just hit the button.
Didn't we talk about this last week?
I'm sorry, man. It's just like I listened to it. It worked last time.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, but yeah, so they're basically kind of taxing her a little bit more, since she has an asymmetrical, balance in her legs.
That's from her hips, though, right?
Yeah, it's from her
Yeah.
hips. So basically, it's that one side is now, uh, it's not atrophied, but it's underdeveloped, and
So that's why she was hopping around on one foot.
well, she was hopping around on one. Okay, so her problem, it's not just within the hip. The hip has also caused it's caused the leg to basically uh, pronate out just a little bit, right? So yeah, yeah.
No,
So
no, no. Yeah.
well, the difference is, all right. So on a dog, right, you have to think about it as she's like standing. So that means it's like
So
this,
she's getting duck-footed. Kind of.
sort
Yeah,
of, sort
yeah.
of. But
No, I get it. Yeah,
don't
it's
think
not
about
the
it this
same.
as like duck-footed. Think about it as an axial tilt.
Yeah, because it's not the foot. So yeah,
Right.
right. I understand.
So that also caused like a tilt there that may or may not be able to be adjusted. But what we can do is we can strengthen up the area with that, and there has been progress on that. So there was a 4 centimeter differential when we first started. In terms of circumference around the leg muscle, that's actually been reduced by 1 so far.
And that was the arthritis, or is that just swelling?
No, this is the muscle,
Got it. Okay, now
right?
I understand.
This was the difference in the muscle. So the muscle has grown. So at this point, uh, you have to basically force her to use both joints, but you have to tax the weaker one more
Yeah, I
to
understand.
catch it up. So
Yeah, I understand that well.
yeah, you should. So
Yeah,
are you?
yeah, because I have been rowing the last couple days, and this arm fucking hurts. So it
Yeah,
is not happy.
yeah.
But it didn't break. So
So
yeah.
you can ask for sometimes, man. So yeah, so what she's at now is she's still mostly mostly with the underwater treadmill, but what they're doing now is they are now attaching weights
Oh, I
to
see.
the weaker foot,
Right.
which wears her out.
Yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah, so normally she is, well, you see her. Normally she's like bouncy and barky and all that other stuff.
Tired.
I, I got her home today, and of course, when she's done, she has a whole bunch of energy. But uh, she and I both were like, "You want to go to bed?" It's like, "Yeah, let's go to bed."
Let's go to bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got her. I put food in her and hung out for a little bit, and then but gone.
Well, I'm glad she's doing better.
She is doing better.
That's good.
Yeah, it's definitely showing progress. It's been worth the time and money that Spot Insurance has been spending on it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So anyway, I'm Pat,
Hey, I'm Jeffrey.
and that's a Kinsasha
Yep.
update for you. That's a good one.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there is use to dog physical therapy treatments. It's not a whole bunch of hokum. There's
I don't think too many people would assume it is, or do
I would
they?
think some people do.
I mean, if you grow up on a farm, it's like, yeah, well, just rock it off, kind of thing. But I mean, people are so protective of their pets these days.
Look, they are, but I guess so. I would say, how many people do you think would hear something like acupuncture for your dog and not consider that a frou frou Philly thing for Malibu people?
They would probably consider it that, but that doesn't mean that they wouldn't do it. So, I mean, the
Hmm.
people that I know, I mean, I know, like, you're not the only guy that I know who goes way out of his way for his dog,
Oh no, 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 no! Of course
And
not.
so,
Of course
yeah,
not.
like, I don't know. That's why I have two cats. So, you know.
What? It's just one's redundant.
Yeah, they are kind of. Well, you have test cat and control cat. You
Right.
know? So I'd probably try it on test cat first, so before I expose control cat to it. But I would still do quite a bit. So
Yeah.
yeah, um, yeah. But then guys that I used to work with, no, absolutely not. So um,
Right.
yeah, but those guys are a dying breed, man. They're not out there like they used to be. So
I can't. Well, no, they're not, and I guess it's not to look at this in a way to say like, hey, this is new age medicine bullshit or whatever, or anything like that. No, that's not the implication.
mm-mm.
But I do know that there's a fair amount of people that would be like, all right, well, if there's what they would say is, all right, show me that if there's a surgery or there's a medication or something
yeah.
like that, then yes, okay, I understand, and we'll go that route, right? I can see a lot of people saying like, I'm not going to go into physical therapy. What are you, nuts? Or especially like acupuncture, they're like, for a dog? What are you, stupid? I can totally see that,
I
but
can see it. I just don't know many people who would say that anymore.
I know tons.
I don't.
Well, a lot
So
of people, yeah.
I mean, in the past, yeah, sure, but I don't know those people anymore. So yeah, just thinking about the people that I know over the yacht club, they would probably say like, "Well, what do you mean you don't take your dog to physical therapy?" you know. So,
As yes, and as we've discussed, that is a very um, unique slice of American life over
I
there.
suppose, man. I saw a Cybertruck over there the other day. So,
Exactly. There's your
yeah.
point.
I don't think he was actually in the yacht club. So I'm pretty sure he was at the movie theater.
May have been at the movie theater, but
Yeah.
yes, that's. There are. I am not saying that you necessarily hang out with the cultural elite, but I think that they are within.
I hang out with a guy whose hands are so rough from tile setting that I won't high five him. So yeah.
Yes, that's one.
Yeah, well, there's him. There's another guy who's an excavator operator.
Uh huh.
So,
And
and he's fat. So,
he's fat, but I presume that these people are in the upper echelon income brackets.
oh, I'm sure they are.
Yes.
Yes. So,
Yes.
no, I don't hang out with poor people, Jeff.
There you go.
I wouldn't even know where to find him anymore.
Yeah. Right.
So,
There you go.
yeah.
Right. Which
I mean,
is
fucking the wait staff over there makes more money than I probably do
all right.
now.
which is why I remember when we'd get in these arguments about well, I haven't heard anybody say that. It's like, well, you won't hang out with rich people.
Well, yeah, I don't even know where I would go to hang out with poor people anymore. So,
Well,
I mean, where would that happen? I mean, yeah, a lot of my students aren't that well off, but quite a few of them are. That's an interesting question. It's not like the old airport days where everybody was fucking poor.
oh, sans a couple of people. I mean,
Well, yeah, until the IRS found out about them. So,
yeah, yeah.
it's like, wait a minute, how'd you buy that ranch?
Right. I would argue that you couldn't say that those guys were poor people.
Oh god, no, man! When I used to
Not
work
at
the
that
ramp,
point.
oh god,
Oh, the ramp.
oh
Well, that's a
god,
different
everybody
story,
there
man.
was fucking poor. We used to share food with each other.
Yeah, that's a different story.
Yeah. So I wonder how much those guys make these days. So
I can't begin to tell you.
I wouldn't
I
know.
wouldn't-
Yeah. I mean, it used to be that like everybody wanted to work for the airlines because of the flight benefits, but they're not even worth it anymore.
Right.
So I found that out when I worked for the last airline that I worked for, and I could never even get positive space on an airplane, let alone standby. So with my passes, they were useless. So, because every fucking flight was oversold. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I would venture. I mean, I can't say this for sure, but you've communicated that airlines offer they operate on kind of thin margins, so it doesn't sound like they can really afford to pay ramp workers that much.
Well, most of them are contractors now, so yeah, probably not.
I don't know.
I don't know. So, well, and they were always like airlines are always kind of up and down. It was always feast or famine, man. So, in feasty times, it'd be like, oh, blankets are coming back. Yay.
Right.
And then famine
Right.
times, like, give us all the blankets back. So, yeah. I don't know. I'm kind of surprised our little airport struggles as much as it does. So,
I don't know. I don't know about anything about
it's
it.
fucking deserted, man. So, like, when you and I worked there, all the counter space was full.
Yeah.
Now it's like there's one on each side, and that's about it. So it is sparse. So
Well, I mean, here's the big question. All right, so if ultimately here, if you're acting as a shuttle to Denver, right?
yeah.
The question is how much are you willing to let that add to your ticket, right? To let them fly you to Denver and sit around for a while because ultimately it's not going to save you that much time. Not at this point. So unless you're taking a direct
Oh, it
flight
saves you
somewhere,
a lot of time if you don't have to drive. So
but you have to no, you fly up
yeah.
there and you have to wait around for the people to get on and
Oh,
everything like that. So, you'd think it saves you a ton of time, but it doesn't really.
it probably saves you about an hour. So yeah, you know,
Right. That's
yeah,
what I'm saying. Not a ton of time.
yeah. Well, I don't know. Probably a little bit more than that because it takes an hour to drive there. And I'd say it probably saves you a good 30 to 40 minutes in security. So
Sure,
I have
sure.
never gone, and they don't let you go through a concourse anymore like they used to. That used to be my hack.
Oh,
So you go up there, and rather than go through the fucking hell pit that is their security line, you just walk across the bridge and get on a concourse and then take the elevators down on the train.
oh.
So they don't
I,
let you
I
do
didn't
that
know that.
anymore if
Yeah.
you have a ticket that's for that's not on a concourse. They turn you around now,
Oh,
fuckers.
okay. Yeah. All right.
So yeah. I don't like last time I flew out of DIA, we did that trick, and then I read something like in the post where they said you're not allowed to do that anymore, and so ever since then we've always just flown out of here whenever we can, even if it's an extra like $200, it's worth it.
And that's right. That sort of is that perspective right there for
Yeah.
you and me. Yes, but again, $200 is going to be a very different story for different folks.
Well, you're not flying anyway. If $200 are a big fucking deal, so airline tickets are not what they were 10 years ago, man. So they are much more expensive than they used to be.
Oh man. Okay, so $200. Yes, if this is the trip that you're taking, if this is something where you know that you're going to go see your mom in the summer,
Oh yeah,
yeah, that still counts, man. This is
sure.
still it's still $200.
Yeah, it is $200. I mean, but I don't know, man. If I fly out of here and it costs me $200 more, and I'm flying on Southwest, which doesn't charge for baggage,
Mm-hmm.
so that's 80 of that right there if I were to check a bag or two. So, and then down here, parking is about a quarter as expensive as it is in DIA.
Right.
So that's probably another 20, $30 differential right there. I'm already halfway there now, bro. So,
Yeah, but again, you're
yeah.
going to reduce the costs on that anyway. You're going to have somebody take you up there,
If you
right, and
can,
drop
yeah,
you
sure.
off.
Yeah,
Most of
if
us
you
do.
Uber it, yeah, no.
Well, no, no, no,
Yeah.
no, because
Yeah.
forget that. But yeah, that's exactly it. So for a lot of people, they're going to look at it and see like the $200 is too expensive.
Yeah. I just don't think people fly as much as they used to for leisure, at least.
I don't know the number.
I
I
don't
don't
know
know
either.
the. I,
I've just gone based upon the last couple flights that I've been on. They've been full, but there's fewer of them. So there's no way for me to tell the differential there. So the only thing that I'm saying is just service levels seem different than they used to be.
probably.
Yeah.
I mean, if the if the traffic warranted more counter space, then it would be there,
Yeah.
right? But it clearly doesn't.
No. No.
And I know that in certain places, like if I were to do say like a comparable distance, and I were going to say that this would be akin to the $18 flights that you take in like the UK, right?
Oh Lord.
Um,
On Ryanair. Yeah.
yep, and that's how a lot of people get around there.
That makes more sense there, though, man. Your distances aren't as great.
Well,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
And if I'm talking about the distance between Colorado Springs and Denver, that's about right.
Right, yeah, sure. Yeah. In
So
fact, I saw a little while ago that
if
they
there
were
were
actually.
$18, then yes.
Yeah, no, sure. That makes sense. So, where they were actually like trying to get whatever the European equivalent of the FAA is to approve standing room seating. So where
So
it's like a fucking subway car.
what?
Yeah. So a lot of their flights are so short. They say, well, we don't even want to board them. You know, just put those loops up where people can hang out.
Oh,
Like a subway car.
okay, all right.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that.
I would if it was like anywhere in the United States. Well, maybe not up to Denver because that's like a 17-minute flight. You know,
Right,
but
but that flight has to go somewhere.
it has to. Yeah.
Yeah, there's. Look, fuck that. Okay, so if
Well, imagine that would be like you'd have to force everybody to check their fucking bags. So I don't even know how that would work. So
here's the weird one. All right,
yeah.
so if you had some kind of system, essentially where, like, let's imagine this. Obviously this isn't fully based in reality, so we have to check that at the door. But if this were some kind of hourly service, right, and it's just going to and from Denver and back, right?
Oh, so like a bus, literally like a bus.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So, and if you're saying that, okay, so you're going to get on this thing, this is for the purpose of essentially you're not checking luggage.
So you're commuting.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the purpose behind it or if it was just to actually reduce airfares even more. I don't know. So
I mean, if that were the case, I would have zero problem with this. The only problem, here in the States is if you get on this, right, you can't do a standing thing because what they'd have to do is take you there holding the loop in Denver, kick you off the plane, put the seats in.
oh, and send the plane somewhere else. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
because
you're
that has to go somewhere else.
right. I see your point now. Yeah, you're right.
Because yes, obviously, I'm not going to fly 4 hours, or 8 hours or 6 hours to fucking Miami with a loop.
With a loop.
Yeah,
Yeah. You just seatbelt yourself to the side of the plane.
yeah, yeah.
No, I don't think I'd be able to do that either. Anyway, I don't know if that actually came to fruition. I did read that a couple of years ago, though. It might not have been that long ago, but it wasn't recent. So
We'll see. I mean, again, anything that you can get out of here that actually goes to its direct destination, I think is worth it. But
oh heck yeah. So and Southwest flies to a lot of places out of here directly now.
absolutely,
So does
yeah.
American now
Yeah.
too. I think they've got 3 or 4 now. So it used to be Dallas or nothing, baby.
Well,
So-
yeah.
Yeah.
All the places that they would stop first is, Salt Lake City, Chicago,
Salt Lake. Yeah, O'Hare.
Dallas,
Yep.
Houston,
Yeah, that was a long time ago,
Yeah.
though. But yeah.
Phoenix.
Actually, they're closing, what is it? Intercontinental. IAH. They're actually.
Are they?
Yes, I saw that the other day. They're actually closing it and not replacing it.
Oh,
So, George Bush International. So,
just don't need it?
apparently not. So, or apparently they're going to do everything out of hobby. I don't know.
I presume that that's the newer one, correct?
I think hobby's the older one, but I think it's bigger.
Is it?
I don't remember.
Oh,
So I flew in an Intercontinental like fucking 20 years ago, so I cannot remember. So
fair enough. Shit, I don't even remember which one. You know what? I did fly into there.
in an Intercontinental,
I believe so, yeah.
So yeah, there were like 4 airports that were on like a kill list. So and that was one of them. Another one was like this thing that they built in like central Illinois that was supposed to be like this thing that was this like county there spent millions and millions and millions of federal dollars on this thing because they said, well, like a lot of airlines are going to this hub and spoke system. And there's not necessarily a reason why you need a major hub in a major city. So does that make sense? And so they built this, I think it was called like Midwest, something like that. And it was dead. It's just absolutely.
Why wouldn't it be?
It was an idea that was like, okay, if we can get a couple airlines to commit to putting their hub here, that'd be great. But then like 9/11 happened.
Well, that's ridiculous.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
yeah, why would you? All right, so yes, you're right. You don't have to connect to a major city, but
Right.
it has the distinct benefit of going to a major city. Ergo, yeah.
No, I remember that one from years and years and years ago. So, um, I think that one was on the kill list or the deactivate list. I don't remember.
Like, let's suppose for a second, right, that again with the hub and spoke system, you know, if you looked at this from the perspective of, say, like a how can I say this, a godlike traffic figure akin to city skylines of transportation, airport transportation. You're one man, you make all the decisions,
Right.
and had the ability to skirt every little local bit of payola and politics and all this other stuff and say, all right, I would do this from here because it makes the most logistical sense. I can bulldoze everything.
Right. Yeah.
Given the logistics of the United States
Mhm.
and the ability to tear everything out and rebuild it as one man, what would be the most efficient air flying system?
Probably that
Possible.
one that they had thought of, because they put it in the middle of like a place that could expand with like, enormous runways, and basically rather than have a terminal that has like all these fucking baggage claims and carousels and this humongous counter
Right.
that checks in, 1,000 per people a minute, kind of thing. It was like, no, we don't need any of that. It's a transfer facility.
Right.
So
right.
yeah, it was pretty clever, but yeah, it didn't work because there isn't a god out there who gets to make those decisions.
Right.
Each individual airline gets to make those decisions.
Right.
And
Right.
some of them don't even do hub and spoke anymore because it has its problems. So
It does.
it does, but
Has its benefits.
it has its benefits, but it also has its problems. And the same thing's true with the distributed network too. That has its problems too. So, particularly when weather hits many parts of the United States at the same time,
Right.
then you're
Right.
super fucked.
Right. Right.
Yeah. As
That is
opposed
another
to
good
like,
point.
oh, it fucking shut down O'Hare. That's okay. We'll send everybody to Denver. So yeah,
Right.
yeah, it's just I don't know, man. I like flying has no romanticism for me anymore. So I worked in the industry for too fucking long. I've flown to too many goddamn places over the years. So it's just kind of like I'll do it if I have to do it. So, no. Or if it gets me out of a 12-hour drive, I will do that then.
Yes.
But most of it is just like, I'm just not going to go anywhere.
There is that too. Yes. We also have the distinct benefit of a lot of the smaller things that you would like warmly remember about a place. Essentially emigrating to the Springs.
Yeah.
Right. This is not to say that I wouldn't. In the past, it's like, hey, I don't need to take this trip here. I kind of feel like it, but I also haven't had an In-N-Out burger in a while.
Right.
That'll tip me over the edge.
Yeah.
Well, truth is, I've got one a quarter mile from my house.
Yeah, exactly. So, and there's no line over there anymore. So,
There's a line.
what, at that one?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the last time I went there was no line.
Well, granted, they are open until 1 o'clock, so give it credit for that. But the last time I went there at about 8:45 p.m.,
Oh, okay.
I figured everybody had eaten dinner.
No.
But evidently, this sophisticated cosmopolitan crowd that we have with us here in the Springs, they are late night eaters.
They are. They go to the bars first, and then they go to the In-N-Out. Yeah. So.
But I believe this was like a Thursday, so
Yeah.
I can't speak to that. But yeah, so there's a lot of things that have come here, but also yes, it's the big issue that I have with flying, and this is not flying's fault, is when I was doing it a lot, especially for work, right? You think about the time that it saves you, and yes, it does in a lot of ways, but also there's a point where it's me getting to the airport took time. Me waiting at the airport took time. Me going, so you have to. It's not just where you say it's a 3-hour drive versus a, you know, I don't know, what would be a commensurate flight? That would be like
30 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so versus a 30 minutes flight, you have to think about how long it took you to get to the airport, and you waited for your luggage, and you drove out.
Right.
And you say how
And you
much
don't
time
have wheels where you're going. So, yeah.
Right, and you say how much time did it actually save me, and did it cost me more? I don't know. Right?
Yeah.
That's the truth of it. And sometimes, look, there were plenty of times where the benefit of just not driving that was more than worth it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh, especially when I was traveling for work. Just like, nope. It's like, you're going to give me a per diem? Fuck that. Yeah. So I'm flying.
Yeah.
So, yeah. You know, if it was a place I could fly to, I flew to it. In fact, there was only one time I had to drive when I was traveling. You know, when I worked for the railroad, and that was out to Rock Springs, fucking Wyoming, because there's no other way to get there. There's nowhere to get there.
I can't even imagine. I don't, Rock Springs is how far from the closest airport?
I don't know, man. It's far from everything.
Jesus.
Yeah. So it was out in the middle of fucking nowhere. It was a one Mickey D's town.
Fucking what is the closest city to Rock Springs of any note?
My guess would probably be Salt Lake. So
Holy Christ, man.
And it's not close. So
right.
Yeah, it's about as far. It's almost about as far as Laramie is. So and Laramie's not exactly a big town either. So Laramie's a nice town, but it's not a big town. So.
Yeah, it's always weird when your closest city is a city in another state.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah. So, yeah, no, I can't live out in the country like that, man.
What the hell was in Rock Springs?
They did a lot of chemical operations there, and so I had to go do some training on that.
Oh,
so, yeah.
I see.
It's not just chemical, they do, what the fuck? It's I can't remember what the cargo was, but it's something you mine, but it's hazardous. So I can't.
Uranium?
No, it's not uranium.
I think you remember that.
Yeah, no, we used to ship uranium. So
fuck that.
Oh yeah. So we had those nuke trains. So that would
great
come through every now and then, and they would come from back east, where there's nuclear reactors, and they'd have the cast cars with the spent rods in them. So,
they
go bury them out in Nevada.
The depleted stuff. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, yeah.
You know, all the uranium that the United States has ever produced fits in something about the size of a Walmart. So, yeah. So, and it's buried out there in Nevada.
Well, not all of it.
The spent stuff.
The spent stuff.
Stuff.
I was gonna say, we have live stuff.
Yeah, but you got to recycle those cores about every 8 to 10 years, if I'm not mistaken. So
I'm talking about missiles.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. No, you have to recycle those cores because they have a half-life on them. So
not on the element.
The explosive power of the missile goes down over time. So yes.
Right. Yes, that is the case, but the elements themselves, you're not going to reach the half-life of uranium in 50 lifetimes.
No, it's like 16 years. Dead serious.
Not in uranium.
Well, whatever it is that they use to actually like core nuclear missiles, it's not pure uranium. It's like it's
a uranium isotope.
Yeah, I don't know. So
okay, all right.
But I'm telling you, they recycle the cores on those missiles every 15 to 16 years.
Okay, right. Because so there's going to be there's basically whatever the fusion diffusion core, whatever it is that you're using there. There's because there's going to be two elements. Basically, there's going to be uranium or plutonium plus whatever it is that you're using to ignite that reaction. That's probably what has the short half-life.
Oh, yeah, and that's why they have to replace them.
Okay,
so, And then it winds up in Nevada. So, or they might mill them. They might remill them. I don't know.
So, I have no idea.
Yeah, no. I mean, I've been doing a lot of reading on our nuclear fucking arsenal over the last year. That was one thing that I did not know before. I was like, oh, I didn't realize they had an expiration date on them. So they do. So
They do. Yeah.
and the United States spends a lot of money under the Department of Energy rather than the Department of Defense to actually recore those things regularly.
That is bullshit.
What?
Under the Department of Energy versus Defense,
Yeah, it's not very much money. So compared to what the DoD spends,
it's not a question of how much. It's a question of that should be a dispense expenditure.
a defense expenditure.
Yes.
There's a reason for it. I don't know what it is. So yeah, probably to keep it off the defense budget, but I don't know. So, but it's not that much. So compared to the DoD budget. So I mean, if the reason was to keep it off the DoD budget, it's like saying like, oh well, I've got $5 in my savings account and $1,000 in my checking account. Okay, so it's like doesn't fucking matter, you know. So you're not hiding anything if it's only $5 compared to $1,000.
But this is what
So there's a reason for it that I don't understand.
But this is what we talked about last week, where it's like, all right, I have $500, right? And you went to McDonald's, you only thought it was $12. I still have $500, right? The same kind of thing. If they're
Wait a minute, run that by me again? I didn't catch that.
So if you have $500, right, and you don't see the kind of small numbers that add up, right?
I got you.
If you go ahead and buy a $299 hunting bow, right, you have it in your head like, I've got $200 left, right? So if there are dumps going on there, right, something like this, what I don't know is the sheer amount of dumps that are going on onto other places.
What do you mean by like a dump?
So if you've dumped this expenditure onto the Department of Energy instead of the Department of Defense, right, there could be countless things that are shifted into different budgets that
they don't really hide it, so I don't know. Well, I mean, even your so-called black budget isn't like it's like half of that. So you know, I mean, it's like it's tiny. So compared, I mean, like almost all of your defense spending can be accounted for. So
you are so quick to just like dispense say, it's nothing. It's
well,
nothing.
I did the fucking research on it, bro. You know, I got curious about it.
You're really quick to say it's tiny, and that's the thing. It's like
tiny.
Tiny to who?
Well, tiny to the Uncle Sam.
It's the same thing we just talked about. It's like $200.
Well, I mean,
you're not flying if you don't have an extra $200 to spend.
well, I don't think you should be flying
Fucking
if you're
half the country is over here eating a couch cushion for dinner, and you're like, well, $200, that's nothing.
Yeah, you should boil that thing first. Yeah. No, man, I did all the research on that. I was curious about it. So
All the research.
all that I could do in a reasonable amount of
Eh.
time. Yeah, I actually read the things though. So they're very boring.
I have no idea where all of the money is going, but I just can't. It doesn't look. I understand that this is a bigger picture thing, and this is something that I had to explain earlier in the week. In terms of yes, I had a person that was getting very down about like this country's fucked up. Like, nah, don't worry about it.
No, this country's great.
I was like, why? Like, well, so right now we have a lot of young people that are all pissed off, and they're all bothered, and they're saying like it's very big right now to say this generation they're worse off than their parents, and there's a lot of you've probably seen these floating around. There's the memes of my parents in their 20s. I guess we should start buying a house. And then you show this like depressed guy in his 20s, and I should start getting used to a life of having nothing and being happy with it. And
it's so despondent. Oh man.
Well, look, I get it because there's no sense of cosmic calendar, and what I did was I'm like, all right, chill out. All right, so I'm gonna show you a couple of graphs here right quick, okay? Mm-hmm. And it was two things that I thought had one thing I knew for sure, but the other thing that I hadn't checked on was what is the current debt to GDP?
Oh yeah, it's not bad. So
what would you guess?
Right now, current debt to GDP, I think it's like 20-25%. So
No.
debt?
Yeah, debt to GDP.
No, I don't think it's that. No, it's definitely not.
It's over 100.
What?
Yeah,
No, it can't be.
it is.
That's not possible. We don't tax America down to $0 every single year.
It is over 100.
It can't be.
It is.
No, man. GDP is like $32 trillion and the federal government budget is like $8 trillion. So that's not even possible. Oh, wait, you're talking about debt.
Yes.
I'm talking deficit. Never mind.
No.
Okay, all right. Okay, yeah, no, you're right. So yeah, it's like it broke 100 like maybe.
You know when it broke.
Well, it broke during COVID, and it got really close to breaking. I think it might have broken that back in 2009, 2010 as well. So when we bailed out everybody. So, but like China's is like 800%.
No, it's 300.
Oh, okay. So Japan's is like well over 200, if I'm not mistaken.
Theirs is. No.
Yeah.
So here's the thing: is we never came close to breaking 100 at any other point, right?
Not during World War II.
Well, this this as far as I can see back is like 1960.
Oh,
That I can see. But that doesn't mean that
we hit it in World War II.
it wouldn't surprise me.
So yeah.
But that being said, it's been hovering around like 80, right, for a while,
Yeah.
right? 80 to 100 in the, because you got to remember all that money that we spent in Afghanistan, Iraq, that kind of stuff.
It was about $1 trillion. So altogether, it was quite a bit.
Yeah,
But
so
it's spread over 20 years too. So
yes, but yeah, so I showed that this basically went up to like 122 and actually has been coming down since then, right? Because there was this talk about how bad that was. I was like, okay, no, don't worry about that. I'm like, and it's actually coming down. I had to explain a little bit about it's like we don't cut spending on anything. We just don't. We just outgrow it.
yeah, we usually outgrow it,
And
or we outinflate it. So it's what we did with all of World War II.
which is what I would still consider growth.
I mean,
I think
it's a
they're
little
part
bit
and
different.
parcel of the same
Yeah.
thing, but
Some of the things do like so budget cuts, especially in the Fed. So the federal debt is if you're talking about the full like with the debt clock debt,
that's
thing.
that's a kind of
Well, it's real, but
it's real, but it's sort of a
so when
the figure doesn't really mean what.
it doesn't mean that we owe China that much money.
No,
So-
and that's how everybody sees it.
No, it's IOUs that we put in our own cookie jar, and so like, god dang, I bet you, I'm gonna guess, and I haven't looked at it in a while, but I'd guess that at least 80% of that debt is future payments. So Social Security and Medicare future payments.
I wouldn't doubt that for a second.
I almost
No,
guarantee
I
it.
wouldn't doubt that
Yeah.
for a second. Yeah.
So, but Social Security is the one that people, like I see Ben Shapiro go off in this every now and then. It's like, dude, motherfucker, you're smart. You know how to do math. All right. So you raise this to 69, so rather than 65, and it fixes it and makes it solvent for another 60 fucking years. So we're going to do that.
Yeah.
The question is when.
Frankly,
So,
I mean,
yeah.
that's look, I mean, you could look at it right now and say, all right, so when are people retiring? And they are retiring at a later age.
That
So
is true.
It seems to me that it makes perfect sense to raise that age just on the sheer grounds that, yes, people are working longer. But that was the other point that I made. I said, like, for all the bitching and moaning that all the quote-unquote kids and all these guys are doing right now, so, like, just look at this other graph I sent you. It's like, what's this? It's like, well, this is the replacement rate. I was like, all right, now we have some trouble here where we are, and it's actually been on that trajectory for a while. But when's the last time on this map that you saw it was high?
Oh, not since the 50s. So
In the 60s, it was still
Okay.
It still had spots where it was like 3.8.
Yeah, in Kentucky. So,
That was the
right,
average.
right. I got it.
Well, if that means in Kentucky they were raising the average by having 14,
It might be possible.
and and Soho was 2 or 1.5. All right, I got it.
Yeah.
Right. So I was like, okay, so you see that this is how many people are being born here.
Yeah.
And you see how it's lower here. It's like, when were all those people born and how old are they now?
They're getting pretty old, man.
It's like,
So,
65, 70, 80. I was like,
yeah.
that is correct.
This is why you're seeing massive amounts of retirements going on right now.
Those people are in prime dying age.
Dying age or retiring age.
And said, this is why we're about to have the greatest transfer of wealth in all human
It
history.
is going to happen.
So all those people right now that are bitching are going to get money.
They're going to get huge amounts of money.
houses. They're going to get, like, they are not permanently effed.
No, because your boomer parents are going to live off their Social Security for the next 20 years with their paid off house, which is going to go into your bank account someday. Chill the fuck
Me
out.
personally?
Man.
Yes. That's correct.
Yeah, no, me too. I mean,
Right.
my mom doesn't have that. My mom's a generation removed from that. So she was born before World War II.
Just by a hair, right?
Nah, but I think she was 6 when it started. So, or maybe, yeah, she was pretty close.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
Yeah, something like that. We were talking about that the other day. So, my dad was actually born during World War II. My mom was she was like 6 or 7 years older than my dad.
Yeah.
So,
I
yeah.
remember that.
Yeah, but then there's like, a lot of other there's other considerations behind that though, man. I mean, like if you look at the parts of the economy right now that have the most pressure in terms of like if you want a job in this, all you have to do is raise your fucking hand. Being a male nurse in a nursing home. So
Oh, right.
because you can
Right.
lift grandma out of bed.
Right.
So because there's a lot of kids
Yeah.
out there who don't fucking take care of their parents. So and then their parents
Can't.
go out there and spend or can't, but their parents go out there and spend, basically their kids' inheritance on nursing homes that cost
Yeah.
$2,000 a month just for your room. So and so there's going to be some people, there's going to be some wailing and gnashing of teeth down the road about that too. But
Well, but that's the thing is, it's still money being spent.
correct. It's going back into circulation.
Correct.
Yeah. So,
Correct.
which is fine.
That was the other thing I had to explain, where I had to make the case. Oh, Pat, I had to make the case for illegal immigration, and that is, that's a burden. I did it in earnest, and I said, look, here's the thing that's true about it. I said, look, even if they are not part of the system, they still have to buy food and diapers.
They do.
And if $1 is being transferred to a store that is better than it's being, kept, it is going from place to place, which will go. There's like, how many places does $1 have to change hands to finally get to a box of Wheaties for you?
Yeah.
It was like a dozen. Because it's going to start there on the farm. He's got to buy his
a shitload more
this
than that. Yeah.
at least minimum,
Yeah.
right? So I was like, but how much more value is that than it being hoarded?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I mean that's how Japan got in such bad trouble. So because the market goes down, people are getting transfer payments to just stuff them under the mattress. It was like that creates deflation. So, which is almost impossible to get out of without a major war or a shitload of government spending or a whole bunch of people dying. So, that's about the only way you get out of that one. So,
Hey, man, it's still tough for me to lay it out there when I say, like, the most significant advancement in workers' rights was the Black Plague.
It almost absolutely is. So,
well, yes. It's just like, well...
The only thing about that one that was different was it was regionally located. So it all hit Europe about the same time.
Yeah.
It had been going through Byzantium and stuff like that for,
Yeah.
centuries. So, but yeah, so I don't know.
Well, it's what set up basically like the guild system and all that other stuff.
It did. Yeah.
Because...
Which is the precursor of unions.
Guys, you gotta remember this is radio and not television.
Radio.
But You're going to have to imagine the face that Patrick said when he said that.
And for the record, I have been in 3 different unions. I was a committee chair and a shop steward and a business rep. So I used to fully drink all the Kool-Aid. So, and then I changed, Jeff.
Make a case for the union. Make a case for the value of the union.
If your employer is an absolute trash place to work, where you're getting, your coworkers are getting their hands chopped off by machinery and stuff, you want a union. So, no question. That's fine.
Okay. Any others?
If you want to get paid a little bit more, that's great. So, but it means fewer jobs. So, if you're lucky enough to get one of those jobs, it can be great. So,
and your argument has always been if they offer one, be in it. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
If you get a chance to be in a union and your job sucks, go and be in a union. So, if your job's great and they offer you to be in a union, don't fucking do it. It's a trap. They're just trying to get their hands in your pockets.
I can't hold guilds responsible for that.
No.
I find that to be an absolute necessity of that time period.
It probably was. So, that and soap.
We ain't got to talk about that. That's a given, man.
That's a given.
Yeah. Fucking nobody bathes in manor lords, and fucking nobody nobody bathes in Velen. Nobody bathes in. I mean, there's a lot of shitty places in video games that don't bathe. So
yes, yeah. I can still smell Velen on my computer.
And I wonder, honestly. We have this picture of what the little serfs and people were like, back then. I wonder how much they actually worked. It was a lot, I bet.
Yeah, yeah.
But everything that I see here also seems to suggest that there was still room for fucking around.
I'm sure there was plenty of fucking the dog, man. So
I think there was.
Yeah, I guarantee. It's like that's almost like a constant, not a variable.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's like, okay, so I don't know. It'd be a different kind of fucking around, because I mean, if you go back and you can read stuff from like 1880s America, and people worked their asses off if they were poor.
Yeah.
There was still a lot of fuckery going on. So I mean, everybody still got drunk at the bar. Like they still had time for their families to raise kids and stuff like that. So you might have been at the factory 7 days a week, 10 hours a day, but maybe you only slept like 5 hours a day. I have no idea. So, it's just because like we have this modern conception of there's a trade-off between labor and leisure that only we understand because we're fucking smart. It's like, no, dumbass, everybody's gotten that one forever. So, and there's a reason why we'll never be at 10-hour work weeks. So it's because people just don't like it. I mean, if you're going to work that little, just don't fucking work,
Look, man, that's Freud said this a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he said. The two components of humanity are to live and work.
Right.
And that's. I'm not saying that this is a universal constant between all people. That's ridiculous, right? What I am saying is that there is definitely a correlation when it comes to a lot of people find their value in their work.
Yes, they do.
And if you reduce that to basically 10 hours, I think people can figure out pretty quickly that that's not, I mean, it is a job, but
it's a bullshit job, And I mean, if there's anything that makes people really unhappy, it's bullshit jobs. You and I have had more than enough of those over the years to know that it just makes you miserable after a while.
Well, yeah, because you'd rather do 40 hours of productive work than waste 10 hours going there and just fucking around.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Because there's a multiplier effect. Every fuck around hour, and it's exponential.
It is. It's not quadratic.
Just, yeah. It's not linear. It's just like
no.
It's painful, man.
Yeah. Oh god, so many years of just fuck around bullshit jobs, man. Where you're just like, why am I here?
You don't need me.
You don't need me. Yeah, so it's like, god dang it, I really do need this paycheck, but fuck, there's got to be a better way to do this.
For all parties.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially the ones where it's simple enough where you say, I've had plenty of jobs in 2001 where I could safely say, you know what, I could go home.
Right.
And I can call somebody 3 times during this shift, say, is everything okay?
Yeah.
If they say no, I'll be there in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And I could save just as much time versus, being able to do it on the computer right now. But that's the truth. There's plenty of things where...
Tons of jobs like that. They still exist. Crazy, man.
And that's one of the things...
Everywhere.
I argue on behalf of the serfs here is... I think there were a lot of times where the things that they were doing involved periods of not being observed. And when you're not observed, you fuck around a little bit.
You do, or, you figure your job out a little bit better, so that you get to the point in time where you're more proficient at it.
There's that. Yeah, but if you have to walk this... I'm just taking the fucking Manor Lord's job. So I've got the dude with the ox and the wood, right? He's walking those logs over. When he gets to that spot, does he jump in there and just
he raise his hand? Hey, boss.
Exactly.
You got another job for me?
Yeah, and he's just like, I gotta make water, boss. It's like,
No.
you don't have to tell me that.
I've noticed that in that game, man, where I've had a few times where it was like, what the fuck is going on here? And then you got to get down there in Manor Ward. I was like, get back to fucking work, you asshole.
That's what I'm saying.
It's like, you can fuck the dog on your own time, son.
Or I feel like, when you walk that thing out there to the warehouse, right? I'll bet you're fucking like jawing with Jim there for a little bit, and you're not gonna. We can see it from this helicopter view, but the truth is, like, they weren't walking around and.
So I did that last night just for funsies, and I was in the first person mode where I was just walking around my town because I thought it looked cool. Yeah. And sure as shit, I walk into this place where there's like 5 guys just standing around, and it would have been one of those lost like moments where it's like, what are you guys doing? So where are you supposed to be? Wait a minute, who are you? It's like, you're the woodcutter, huh? I don't see no wood getting cut around here, son.
I checked, there's a lot of fucking forest out there that's still standing exactly where we left it.
Houses need heat. They don't heat themselves. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it was just kind of fun, but it was one of those things that caught me a little off guard. But and I'm sure there was tons of that. There's tons. I mean, every job that I've worked, I've seen that. So every single one. And I think that, like, a lot of it's just really shit job design out there. A lot of it's just shit management where they just don't know, like, hey, man, I'm just the manager. I'm here just to collect a paycheck just like everybody else. It's like, that's a shit attitude to have as a manager, bro. So, I mean, if, you're the guy who's, like, actually got the corner office, you need to use it responsibly. So, and then there's others, there's just like, actually, this whole industry is just bullshit.
There's that. I mean, no, you're not wrong.
Yeah, it's just like, I can't believe you need how many people to do this? That's crazy. So, yeah. And some of that's government regulation, some of it's just like, that's the way we always done it around here, kind of thing. And it's like, well, the way that you guys do it around here is retarded. I mean,
law says we have to have 2 people for every one of these.
I know, exactly. Yeah, and it's just like, why? So
well, and then you find out that it's for one part of the year, right?
Yeah.
Where for like 3 weeks everybody is super busy.
Yeah, it's busy as fuck. And so, yeah.
But then you're looking at the other 11 months and a week, and you're saying you have to keep 2 people on staff for every one of these for the entire year?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I see that in university system all the time, man. So
that's what I'm talking. You know exactly.
I see that every fucking day, But I mean, I've been places that are worse than university though too. Come to think of it. So, and then I've been places that are so bare bones where it's just like the 6 of us are so goddamn busy that by the end of the day, it's like, I'm tired and going to bed. So it's like, aren't you hungry? No. I was an hour ago, but I am no longer hungry.
Right. Like, you don't understand.
You don't understand.
I'm too tired to fucking eat.
Yeah. If I don't use all my energy, it's like going to require these last 4 bars of battery for me to get home.
Yes. And you're starting to wonder why. So I understand that there are, you look at these things that were clearly made as athletic products. It's the thing that I always like to joke about and say, like, all right, what percentage of Gatorade is actually consumed by athletes. It's very small.
Very small.
If you've seen those, the pouches
Oh, yeah.
with the suck hole, right?
Oh yeah, it's like, does it have like fruit in it, or
Well,
suck all? Exactly what you're talking about.
yeah, it's
It's got that knob on it too.
yes,
It's
yeah,
fucking
yeah.
weird.
It's because you look at them and they're never standing upright in the store, and these are for people that are clearly. You have to eat. They're like for marathon runners. It's like you can slip one in your pocket, and whilst you are running, you can suck the jellyfish and apple. With
It's like made for space pilots.
yeah, and you sit there like, all right, this is a very niche audience, and you're saying, I'm not sure if this was actually made for athletes or that exact job that you're talking about, where you're like, I don't have the energy to chew. I have to I have to suck like wet granola out of this out of this fucking bag hole.
Yeah. To be fair, it's been a while since I've had a job like that, but I've definitely had a couple of those.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh my God, make it stop. I mean, your days would go fast, but I remember, like, there were some days where I was just absolutely gassed at the end of the day. And not all of them were physical jobs. In fact, the few physical jobs that I had.
Yeah.
Well, I've had physical jobs where, like a double shift at the airport throwing luggage was fucking rough after a while, man.
Brother,
I mean, you could do it. You could do it. So, but if you had to do it a couple days in a row, you were like, I need an ice bath right now.
Well, Will can tell you those stories about when he was,
roughnecking.
Yeah, when he was roughnecking, and I've never had the displeasure of shingling a roof. I've never had the or
I've never done that.
Putting tar on there in July like the fucking Shawshank guy. I've never had to do any of that stuff where you're doing that 8 to 12 hours. Outdoors, that kind of stuff. So I know that there's because I've seen those guys too, where it's at that point, you see these people and it's essentially like they're eating like cheetahs, where it's like, all right, anytime that there's an opportunity, anytime somebody has a donut, I'm gonna eat this donut, right? Somebody right?
Yeah, no, that's when that was Ramp Rat. That's why we shared food. So it was your turn to snag donuts from daylight on the way in. Or the same thing would be true. Like when the guy who used to fill the vending machines would come by, we'd buy a couple cases of those fucking sausage biscuits.
Oh yeah.
Just throw them in the refrigerator. So we all chip in on that. Because if you got 8 minutes till the next plane comes in, it's like, yeah, exactly. So in fact, you wouldn't even microwave it. You just take it out of your locker for a little bit. So,
hey man, I get it. I couldn't do it now.
It was all cooked, so it was fine. But
listen, I have that same attitude toward canned ravioli and processed spaghetti, and I enjoyed it fresh out of the can with a spoon.
Yeah.
And I am well aware that some people are right now, that is the most revolting thought on the planet. And I get it.
It's got its own charm to it. So
SpaghettiOs don't need to be cooked, all that other stuff.
See, I'm with you on SpaghettiOs. I don't think I could do the ravioli. So,
absolutely fine.
Yeah, I don't think I could do that.
Here's the question. Would you feel comfortable just peeling off the lid of a can of Spam and putting a spoon in it?
No, it's kind of I've done that. So
right, I would have to be at war.
Right, yeah. So yeah, I mean,
otherwise I gotta put some brown on the sides, man.
Yeah, it's that's pretty hard to do. I mean, it's perfectly healthy, but because it's all smoked. But actually, I think it's boiled. I think that stuff's boiled. So. Like other things, no problem. Like a can of Vienna sausages, no problem. So,
I've had a cold hot dog.
Cold hot dogs are fine.
They're fine. They are not how I want them.
No, they're definitely not how I
want
live. You know what? Actually, the hot dog that's actually kind of good cold is the cheese one. So
So
you want with the cheese toothpaste in
they're
it?
right. You know what?
It's not bad. It's been a while, Joe, since I've had one of those. But
I
I do
know
remember that
you
as a
just
kid, or even as a young adult, I would buy a pack of those fucking Oscar Mayer cheese dogs, and
yeah.
throw two of them in the pot, and then eat the other one like a popsicle.
So that's the thing is everybody should know this. There should be a. I think that everybody should have a point in their life where they understand what we're talking about. They may be saying like, "I never did that with the cheese dog,"
Right.
but there should be something in your life that gave you that kind of. It's basically you have to live on Earth for a little bit. If you're away from the planet's gravity for too long, you atrophy, right?
Right.
And you don't need to live on some fucking planet that's really close to the sun and the gravity's thick as shit, where you're saying like, wow, I spent 80 years beating my ass and all this other stuff, so I'm tough. But there should be some moment in your life where you're like, wow, okay, so that sucked. That was hard.
Sure.
I have the perspective to do this,
Yeah, I mean that can come in a lot of different forms too, man. So, I mean, poverty years were absolutely formative. So, and I didn't hit those until shit. We had been married like 4 or 5 years before we hit our real poverty years. So, you know, because we had money going into it, and eventually that ran out. Same thing with credit. So, but yeah, there's always something. The question is, do you learn something from it? I know a lot of people who are poor who didn't learn anything from it.
That's sort of like last week's discussion too. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen people work so hard to get themselves out of a jam to start getting themselves in that jam later that afternoon.
Oh yeah. Or sometimes you go on this hiatus for a couple years where you're like, I made it, kind of thing, and then your habits creep back into your life, or somebody introduces them back into your life. I've seen that happen a couple times with folks at the yacht club, where it's like, oh, you're working on divorce scene number 3 here. God, man, here we go.
That's that. Yep. Nope, that's that. I feel like most everybody I knew, had to dance with the devil of credit sometime in like their mid 20s, 30s.
Yeah, exactly. All the people who are mad on TikTok right now, I know. Yeah.
And I feel like everyone had to do it, and everybody had to learn. I feel like nobody got that moderation just right out of the jump. I feel like there were some people whose parents said, before they put them to bed every night when they were 12, they'd be like, all right, well, I'm going to read you Goodnight Moon, and then I'm going to put a burlap sack around you and whip you. While I have you sniff this credit card, because I want you to know, like, we pay this off every single month in full, blah 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 blah, right? Like you're training a circus animal, and so some people have that, like, no, zero balances all the time, whatever, right? But for most people, they had to get in trouble first to sort of work them way out, and they say like fuck, I owe $6,000 to who and for what?
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's this moment where you feel like, oh, I could live like a millionaire.
Yeah. Right? Bro, that happened to me the first time I made a decent salary.
Wow.
So where I started making a lot of money, and then my like first stint of poverty years was before my wife went to law school.
Okay.
So, and we did struggle for a bit there, but then, during that time, we still managed to buy a house because this was 2002, and you could do that with a ridiculous interest rate at the time that they said, oh, don't, I think I think my first mortgage was a fucking balloon loan. So
was it?
I'm pretty sure it was. So, or maybe it was an adjustable rate.
Okay, yeah.
I know it was adjustable rate. I don't think it might not have been a balloon loan. Maybe it had an option or something like that.
Okay.
So, but anyway, And the guy was just like, oh, well, don't worry about this. You just refinance it 6 months. And he was absolutely right. So, because once you had 6 months of steady payments under your belt, you can start, playing the credit game a little bit better.
Game.
So
Yes,
it
but you're
was
right.
definitely
Yeah.
a game. It
Yeah.
was definitely a game. This was when both my cars were financed. So my house was financed. And so those were ramen years. And then we got out of all that when I got my first real job. So, and then I made a lot of money that first year that I was there and paid all that shit off. We sold the house. So, um, and then I was like, every time I'd go see my wife, I'd be like, steak, let's go out for steak,
Right.
kind of thing.
Right.
So, like, vacation, where do you want to go? Let's go, kind of thing. And then that's when I got into real trouble with credit cards for the first time. Because before that, I didn't get in trouble with credit cards. So, yeah. No, I think maximum balance. I had over $40,000 in credit card balance once.
This is what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was when I was making probably about 80, 85. So, which is ridiculous if you think about it. If half of your money is tied up in if half of your annual income is tied up in debt, you done fucked up. I mean, consumer debt. I mean, yeah, mortgage
Yeah.
debt, sure. Student loan debt, fine. So, but if it's consumer debt like that, that's bad.
Right.
So, yeah. So,
Yeah, and that's the worst is because those are the moments where it's not that much of a stretch to look at it and look. There are people out there right now who are going to look at that and say, "This is impossible for me to overcome," and they'll put the shotgun in their mouth. Right?
yeah, don't do that. But
No,
I know
no.
some
Obviously,
people
I'm
will.
not
No, I know you're
advocating
not
this,
gonna
but
do
I'm
that.
saying like there's a hopelessness to it where you see yourself as chained to certain things. Um, and it's really unfortunate, especially if those things are coupled with, say, like a divorce, or if they're coupled with
They're back taxes.
whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, whatever they got you on. Yeah, whatever it
Yeah.
is. If you can take a look at that and say, like, there is nothing, anything positive I do will be offset by the crushing debt.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, that's the tough thing is I've seen people like shit. I've done that where it's like, all right, well, I worked out of this debt. All right, well, I should go here, and then the thing starts again. It's sort
Right.
of
Yeah. I don't know, man. I've seen people overcome like massive amounts of debt in my life. Like my buddy, like Wayne, he was in the hot for millions of dollars after his lawsuit.
well, that's true. Yeah,
So, and
yeah.
he clawed his way out of it, man. It took him 10 years to do it and at least one bankruptcy, but he did it. So, and now he's a millionaire again. And it's like, good for you, buddy. So you can totally do it, man. It's just a question of like, I mean, I can see how, yeah, some people would put the shotgun in their mouth. And, I guess I never saw my dad as being that onerous. It was like, well, okay, fine. What are they going to do? They're going to cut my legs off? No. All right. So, I'm going to have to work a little bit harder and pick up extra shifts. I mean, there was one time I was working 3 goddamn jobs. I hated that. So, I absolutely hated that. And that was just to try and get out of some of that debt. It worked. So, but, it did suck. Oh, yeah.
I know. Yes, Patrick. Obviously, I'm not advocating.
Mm-mm.
No, that's ridiculous. But I can certainly identify with it.
Sure. Yeah. No, I mean the despondency that you see on YouTube Shorts now. I get that. But also at the same point in time, it's like, hey man, just give it some time. All right, you're gonna work your way up. You're gonna command more money on the market. More people are gonna retire. People always fucking retire. So I remember when I was that age, it's just like, oh my god, if this guy just died, I'd have a great job. Blah, blah. But
Yeah.
if that had happened at that point in time, I wouldn't be where I'm at now. So fuck it. It works out.
It does and it doesn't. I mean, there's a. All right, I will take a warning against just the it works out perspective.
Sure.
Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes, I mean, it's I mean, that's the thing is we don't like to admit a lot of the things in life that happen to us are done by chance, or
yeah.
come about by chance. But that being said, there are a lot of things that you can do to mitigate your rolls a little bit. You're still gonna roll a natural 1 or a natural 20 sometimes, but at the same time, you can take steps so that you have a little bit better dice roll when it comes up.
You can. Yeah.
Because like that thing you're talking about, where like if you're stuck in despondency and you're just saying, I'm waiting for something good to happen, like it could happen. But also when you're stuck in that mindset, people are going to see you as that grump and they're like, no, I don't want this guy working here.
Oh, no, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing that I say
when you're interviewing.
Yeah.
I mean, I can smell that on you when you walk in the door. So that sense of entitlement is like, fuck off. So,
That's what I'm saying, man, is that sort of thing is not doing your dice rolls any favors.
No, you can always decide, like, I mean, the one thing is you can always decide when you roll dice and how often you do it. So, and then...
To a point, your water heater breaks when it breaks.
Well, okay, that's fine, but I'm talking about jobs.
Yeah.
So, I mean... I get this question all the time. It's like, well, is job hopping a bad thing? I'm like, absolutely not. It's not a bad thing at all, as long as you're showing progress in there somewhere. If you're with a bad company and you jump over to a better company, that's progress. If you're in a bad company, you jump up a step, that's good progress. If you're in a bad job and you jump to a new neighborhood or community or even a new industry, that's progress, So, all that stuff looks great. What sucks is when I see that you managed an Arby's and then a Burger King and then a Subway and then another Burger King all within a year. It's like, well, that's a red flag, because now I know you're a fucking problem. Right. So, and as long as you stay away from that, you'll be just fine. So, but yeah, you don't know when your water heater breaks. So that is true. Yeah. So, but again, you're right. You set up die rolls and that. I mean, that was the first thing that I learned from my first house that I owned. It was like, you better have $1,000 in the bank at all times. Otherwise, you're going to put that shit on the fucking credit card, and then you're going to struggle to pay it off, and you're going to be right back where you started, buddy.
Well, sometimes you don't have $1,000.
Well, I mean, at that point in time, I did whatever I could to actually scrape out that, and I guarantee you, there's like my house now, there is no time that passes where I have less than $5,000 in my bank account in case something blows up. So, because I got fucking sick of putting that shit on my credit card and struggling for 8 months to pay it off.
I gotcha. Well, this is it.
That's just something I learned, man. No. I had to save enough money to the point in time where I could sleep at night, not worry about that.
No. I understand, man, and I as a general philosophy, I agree with you in principle, right? Absolutely, right. I'm just saying that there's a lot of people that can't do that right now. They can't. It's just not within their capacity to put that money away.
I know, man, but it might take you 5 years to do it. To just like get started on it, the sooner is better. So. I mean, that's $5. If that's one skipped meal a month, there you go. So that's $5. That's $60 a year. That's a start.
I know, but what I wouldn't do is I don't want to, like you said, you wouldn't know where to go to hang out with poor people right now.
No, I wouldn't.
Right? So, and that's sort of the angle that I want to take here is again, this is not something that I'm saying against you.
Where would I go?
Well, to go looking for it?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I know a few at the bar, but to be blunt, they're probably on the meth. So,
There you go.
Yeah. I can't. Meth is not a money problem. Meth is a meth problem. So
they can go part and parcel, but they're not necessarily tied
one
together.
Of those is distinctly a magnitude larger of a problem than the other. I can give you a shitload of advice about how to save money. So let me teach you all about the envelope system. So it's great, but I can't tell you the first thing about getting off meth because I've never seen somebody do it. So.
I've seen people use it, but I've never seen anybody get off.
I've never seen anybody get off of it, and apparently it's not meth anymore. It's all fentanyl around here, man.
Right.
So
right.
It's even scarier. So that shit's expensive too, man. It is way more expensive than meth. So I always thought it was cheaper, and that was the point. So
no, it's that's not. They're not commensurate. They're not the same.
Correct.
Family.
I didn't even know that. No. So yeah. No, I did this. So I ran across this article like 2 weeks ago that kind of set me down a rabbit hole on all that stuff. The or the fentanyl epidemic.
Did you? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's pretty ugly, man. So
Yeah, what did you come across?
well, that for one. So at first I thought people were doing fentanyl because it's cheaper, and that's not even remotely true. So and then second of all is like the actual rehab process is basically a dead end. So its success rate is absolutely awful. It's worse than heroin. So
Well, I mean, it's an opioid. I mean, so
yeah,
it's in that family. It is. Here's the thing: it is cheaper than other opioids.
that I believe. Yeah.
Yes. So the song and dance that you had to do with like pills, right?
Right.
Fentanyl can be less than the medication that you get.
Yeah.
It is not cheaper. Well, I mean, it depends, but it's not necessarily cheaper than heroin, for example. But heroin is,
Depends on where you are.
yeah, it's a different animal though.
Yeah, but my understanding is that there's a lot of people who, so like this guy, you know, he's like in the same family as that guy who was walking around on the border, the bald guy that you pointed me to,
Okay.
who goes around and does the single cam and talks to. He did like one with the Amish and shit. That was great. I can't
Oh,
remember
okay.
his
Yeah,
name.
yeah.
So, but he's kind of in the same vein as that guy. So, who was doing the same thing with drug addicts in this one. And there was a ton of people that he was talking to that were just like, no, I got started on heroin, but then after a while, it was like expensive. And so I switched to this, and then I found out that I have to do more of this, which makes it more expensive. So, you know,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, that sucks. And he's like, yeah. And he was like showing people, you know, the fentanyl that he had. He was like, yeah, if you took this right now, it would kill you.
Yeah.
So he's like, but, you know, I do this 4 times a day.
Yep. Yep.
So it was just like, ugh, that's bad.
And what really sucks about that too is if you can't have, all right, so a lot of like if you need medical procedures done, right? You can't just go in there and basically have your surgery. You have to get clean of that first.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
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 Because
Because
they can't anesthetize you. Huh?
sucks.
Got
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and the same thing, like they can't anesthetize you. It also so the other problem here is let's say that you have like a shitty fucked up knee, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right? If you've been taking this, the same thing goes with prescription like opioids, right? If you've been taking this stuff for 10 years,
Yeah, it don't work. Yeah.
well, it's not just that it doesn't work. You're taking a ton of it,
Right.
right? But if you go ahead and get your surgery done, it's going to hurt,
Yeah.
right? Because it's lost its efficacy at that point. So they have to get you clean of that to actually make it useful, and then use non-opioid medication, which then really sucks for you because they're like, all right, well, we're going to go ahead and pull apart and reassemble your knee. Here's 5 aspirin.
Yeah.
But they're big ones.
They're big
you know,
ones.
that's the thing. And even then, they wouldn't want to give you like a whole bunch of those because they're like, well, what's this going to do to your blood?
Yeah, I didn't know
fuck it
about
up.
that. So that's news to me.
No, that's problematic. Yeah.
No, there was one other thing that's kind of along those lines. It's like you can only be Narcan so many times before it doesn't work. So, and it's like low. It's like 8. So if you've been, if you
It shouldn't be low. I know what you mean, but that's
right, but there's like people who count this shit, you know, and they're
Right.
like, well, I've got 3 left. So he's like, well, are you gonna quit? And he's like, no. You know?
actually they say that I don't know if the thing that you watched or read kind of covered this. They said Narcan is one of the big problems with this is that because of Narcan, what normally would be killing people
Yeah.
is prolonging their lives and contributing to the problem.
They did talk about that, and that's particularly true in certain municipalities that we've mentioned many times on this podcast that give it out for free. So,
Right.
yes. So, yes. And so people go there specifically because of that. So now this particular video was not there. So, but there was discussed.
Because I mean that's that because the problem is it exists. And you can't look at that stuff and say, well, I'm going to make the decision not to administer it.
Yeah, you can't do that.
You
as a paramedic.
absolutely cannot do that. No.
I don't think there's any decision as a paramedic you can make along those lines. So I think you're obligated, aren't you? This isn't triage. This isn't the triage in you know, like if it's a triage event where there's 1,000 bodies out there, okay, yeah. So, but if you're just one guy, you can't say, "Oh man, this guy's better off dead."
No. Fucking no. We're not. Oh my God, we're not storming a fucking machine gun nest, man. It's nothing like that.
Right.
Priority.
He's gone.
If we have that going on, man, we got real problems here.
Problems. Yeah.
If that's just a Saturday night in Detroit, man, that shit is fucked up.
Oh, that was another thing I saw. The homicide rates are down across the country, so they've been dropping steadily. So
yes.
So.
Yes. There's a little bit of all right. So yes, across the country they are down.
Yes.
They are up in certain places. But
yeah, Chicago was one.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is the thing that, as far as I'm concerned, look, man, I'm very pragmatic about these kind of things. If this is the problem, the area of town you have problems in, then
fucking move.
Well, not just move, but there's also a part of me that says, like, all right, well, if all the problems are here, our cops are going to be here.
Yeah.
All of them. And
yeah,
we are going to basically look the other way in terms of certain police oversights to clean it out.
Yeah.
I will Giuliani the shit out of this place.
Well, that's probably coming for a bunch of these cities. So,
yeah.
I don't know. Chicago does have a new mayor, so maybe not there yet. But we'll see.
No,
my understanding is that the New York subways are quite a point of contention amongst the voters there at the moment. So where they're like, why the fuck are we even paying for this if this is what's going on?
Right.
Yeah. So
there is a little bit.
Just shut it down. You know?
There's a little bit of people out there being like, my God, would you just kick an ass every now and then, please? Yeah, I know.
Well, he certainly did at Columbia, so there you go.
You got to do it.
You got to do it.
You got to do it.
You got to clean out the sink flies. So
that is correct.
Yes, they full of socialist sink flies.
You have dude, man, you have a lot of like rotten cheese on the underneath of that drain, and it is just. you got to Drano that place, man, and that's I understand that there are more incidents of fucking people like ruining Michigan graduations, and
yeah, they canceled a bunch of them too, man. That's just heartbreaking because they didn't realize it's 2020 and then 2024, so this is the same graduating class that got the COVID. Because okay, so we talked about that the other day, and I actually had a student, so I reached out to her about this. I was like, what did you do for your graduation? Because I knew she graduated that year, and I was just curious. And she was like, well, it sucked because we did the online one, but I actually walked the next year. They let me, walk. And I was like, well, that's good. But, I mean, if your kid's graduated from an Ivy League school, something tells me they don't let you do that the next year. I don't know. So yeah, because we actually did have so 2020 our graduation was canceled. So because that was in the middle of the toilet paper freak out and all that stuff.
Right.
So but then the next year we actually did have a commencement. So everybody was masked. I remember that.
Right.
So but we actually did have a commencement. So but this class, this is like 2020 was the year you graduate high school, and here it is, 2024.
So, okay.
Your graduation gets canceled because of Nazis.
No, man. All right, so if it happened to me in 2020, and all right, this is the big brick of salt that I'm going to put this here. I didn't go to my own graduation. They mailed me my fucking diploma because I don't care. But if that were something that meant something to me in 2020, I would let that slide on the grounds of, I don't want to get sick.
Well, yeah, and it was all fucked up and nobody knew what was going on.
I get
Yeah,
it. That's something that I would let walk. Now, if it's 2024,
right.
and if I have all of these assholes breaking up my graduation and on my campus holding up their fucking Blackjack Pizza colored flag.
Yeah, the colors do match. You know, what is it with the Mediterranean? They all use the same fucking colors.
It's
Yeah,
wacky.
it's weird.
I get the same thing every now and then. Not just Mediterranean, but I'm like, is that Russia or France?
Oh, yeah.
What order of Neapolitan ice cream?
It's the olive oil butter line. You know, it's your red, white, and blue north of the butter line, and then you switch the blue to green if you hit the olive oil line.
Right.
There we go. Yeah. And let alone you guys actually regularly eat hummus. You know,
Right.
then you got to put something black on there too. Yeah.
So, if I have these fucking dweebs over here that are breaking this up, that don't give a fuck, they don't give a fuck. I'm not even gonna pretend. It's like, number one, we don't have that kind of Middle Eastern presence here in this country. That's a lie. All right. You, like I said last week, you can't find it on a fucking map, right? And you're breaking up my goddamn graduation for this. This is the kind of thing that, yes, I'm medicated now. I'm better. But if it were at that time...
He's that guy down bad.
Shit, dude, man, you come in here like, no, we'd be mixing it up. And I could probably look at 4 other guys in the audience, just like, one of us needs to get up and then we'll all go.
Yeah.
Right? And we'd fucking start a brawl in there.
Yeah.
Why? Because that's so goddamn stupid. Fuck you.
Well, it's extremely selfish.
Yeah.
You know.
Fuck you. And yeah, that's the...
And the overwhelming reaction to this is extremely negative, you know. So,
Yes.
especially once people start pointing out that 2020, 2024 thing. It was like, oh, that's fucked up. Knock it off, guys. You know,
Right.
kind of thing. But, you know, again, you've got a couple quote-unquote professional agitators out there who
Yes.
are doing this shit. So
And those are the guys that especially if I found out that you were responsible for this,
yeah.
and you're just stirring people up again.
Well, that's what they're doing, and I mean, that's like New York is kind of one of the epicenters of that. Which, look, man, I don't have any problem with the protests in general. I mean, you know, campus
Never.
protest is
Never.
absolutely positively
Let people go by.
yeah,
Don't block
exactly.
traffic.
Don't block traffic. Don't block traffic. You know, get out there, hold your sign. Shit, dude, they used to do that when we were on campus. Every now and then, you have like 5 fucking people from one club out there talking about like Kosovo or something back then. Whatever.
Kosovo, or every now and then
You
you
know?
get the dorks out there who are like, abortion is murder. I'm like, oh, you just
get
walk
that.
by them, man. It's fine.
Shit, dude, there were protesters at my dad's victory parade when he came back from the Gulf War.
There you go.
So, yeah, and nobody ran across the street and kicked the shit out of them.
No.
And they didn't block the parade either.
That's what I'm
So,
talking
you
about.
know, it's like, come on, man.
Those fucking
So-
losers from the Westboro Baptist Church, at least they followed the rules.
Well, they won the Supreme Court case on that because they followed the rules.
Yes.
Yeah.
But this whole thing where it's like, we're gonna block traffic and we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna not let Jews pass. I'm like, are you fucking nuts?
Yeah, there's a couple videos out there of that's kind of like, oh man, yeah. So you guys have lost the plot. So, yeah, and then of course, you know, like it's all over in 2 weeks anyway because everybody's semester is going to end.
Right.
So,
and something
and-
else will come up in
Well-
4 months and they'll move on.
well, or they can go protest somewhere else, man. I mean, whatever, you know, chain yourself to something, you know, whatever.
No,
It'll
you're going
on
to be one
TikTok.
of those. Look, there's still a small contingent of douchebags that are still throwing orange paint on walls and stuff for Just Stop Oil.
Yeah, that's in Europe though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
in Europe. So my understanding is that is not taken kindly in England anymore. it's,
Listen,
I've seen a couple people
There's-
get like flat out decked by a guy in a 3-piece suit.
it's happened.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen a couple videos of that. Of course, you know it's videos, and so I don't know how many of those I trust anymore, Jeffrey.
I trust a lot of them.
I do now. I don't know if I will in 6 months.
Supposedly, the technology to basically immediately identify something as AI generated is right around the corner.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Um,
Thank God, then I wouldn't have to rewrite my classes. But then again, I teach at a not elite university, so I won't have access to said technology for years. So
Shit, it could be free. I mean, it
that'd
could
be
be.
great.
My understanding is this is the stuff that's being developed by the AI producers themselves. So,
Which guys are these? There's like
uh,
four of them out there.
yeah, I have a chart of it, but I don't remember.
I was thinking about scraping together some money and looking for some AI companies to invest in, but I just don't know.
Well, look, this was the Marina asked me. She's like, "Hey, while I'm at this conference, is there anything you want me to ask?"
Oh, okay.
She's like, "Because I'll have the look. I'm going to be meeting with all of these people from the Bay where this is all going on.
No.
So ask." I'm like, "Well, they won't answer the question that I need to know."
What's that?
She said, and she said, like, I asked this question a bunch too. I was like, "Okay, where's the profit in this?"
Oh, yeah.
Right? And they still can't answer that.
Well, Facebook couldn't answer that question for many years either. So, I mean, we'll see if the Valley model still holds up. But my understanding is that venture capital right now is absolutely almost impossible to come by. So,
Well, yeah, her husband's a venture capitalist. So
yeah,
that's
and I'd be curious about how he makes his fucking money now because you can't get money from the Fed for free anymore. So you have to actually invest in shit that make you you can make the spread now.
right. You don't
So,
have this emergency backstop of yeah.
You can't go to Silicon Valley Bank and say, "Hey guys," and they're like, "Oh well, we have a hotline over to the Federal Reserve." Now the Federal Reserve's like, "Fuck all you guys," and interest rates are staying high. So,
No, as a matter of fact, yeah, because he had money in that bank that went.
oh yeah, that was one. Well, that was one. Or it's just like, actually, your business model is ass, and so you can't do this anymore.
But they all got taken care of.
Well, yeah, because they're still FDIC insured, so that makes sense. So, but I don't think the investors in the bank
Well,
were
no,
made
no, no,
whole.
no. The FDIC only covers a certain amount.
Right? Yeah.
So what they did was they actually backstopped it so everybody would not lose anything.
Except for the investors in the bank.
Investors, that's a different story.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking.
But-
The bank
but-
got wiped out.
But basically, the asset holders, basically the people that had assets there, they were made whole.
your deposits were made whole.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So that makes sense.
That is not what the FDIC covers, though.
No, but the FDIC uses reinsurance as well. So in case something like that actually gets really bad. So
It became a moot point anyway. But yes, it's, so my understanding is yes, the model is changing. It should.
probably.
It should. There's a certain look, the corrective measures in that region have been long overdue,
Yeah.
right? So when you think about it, San Francisco is San Francisco, but it could just as easily be Oakland. And the truth of the matter is there's just a concentration of wealth there,
Very rich people.
and the wealth has not solved their social problems.
Do they care?
Yes.
Do they?
Yes.
They don't helicopter between their buildings like they do in New York. So
New York's its own animal. It's
New York is a different beast.
you
that
have
is
those
true.
people, and then you have the rest of New York, where 7 people live in a studio apartment, and
Yeah.
they're all unrelated. That's the other component of it. But look, the San Francisco, people are like that. Look, there's a weird thing. This is what was explained to me here, is that San Francisco has a lot of foreigners in it,
Yeah.
right? And there are a lot of foreigners that have sort of outside perspective of it when they come here, where they're like, look at all these amazing things that are here. But there's also a lot of, like, these are the same people who look at, like, the downtown area and see shit and homeless, and they're like, the fucking country I left is better than this,
Yeah.
right? So there's this weird part of like, I see what's good about this, and I see the problem with this, and it's like, is this like this everywhere? It's like, nope, just the richest parts.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I've only got one personal perspective on it. That's my cousin who lives there. She says it's fine in her area. So,
Well, again, the
I don't know.
whole part is, the other component is, if you know where you're going, this is the same thing. Like, my understanding is a good percentage of Chicago is perfectly fine.
Oh, yeah.
There are places where you don't belong. But you shouldn't have a... That's the
Shouldn't
thing.
be in there.
It shouldn't be something that you accept. It shouldn't just be like, oh yeah, you just stay out of here and you'll be fine. It's like, well, actually, if you know where the problem is...
Yeah. But Chicago's a different animal. It's broken up into 50 smaller cities. So...
That's true.
Yeah, they have aldermen. It's the only city in America that still has fucking aldermen in it.
Not true. They still have one in New York.
They don't have the same power.
It's no. It's not. But they do still have one.
They still do. Yeah, but Chicago has 50 of them. So, and they're basically like little fiefs. So, the mayor of Chicago can't do all that much. So the mayor of New York can do a lot.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So these are very, very different because Chicago stole that model from New York. And then Tammy Hall got busted up in New York, and they said, fuck this. And then Chicago, they were like, no, we're going to keep it the same way.
They didn't have a Tammy
at all. I mean, like, if you go to, like, like, I saw a guy making a video in Chicago not too long. It might have been that bald guy, actually. Or somebody else. And Chicago, the city itself is clean. There's no homeless in Chicago because they force them to go inside. So
same thing in New York, yeah.
Same thing in New York. And so, your problem there is crime. And so crime specifically in certain parts of the town. And again, when your electoral district is fucking 15 blocks by 20 blocks, and you basically can rule that like a manor lord.
Right.
Right.
Your Hobbit songs fit for my holes.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's weird, but then you can work in Chicago and you not even live anywhere near it, man. So the transit around the area is so fantastic. So
right. Yeah, and that's a good point. That's a good point about New York is you have that too. It's like, look, I only work in this place.
Exactly.
I'm going to go home to New Jersey, tonight anyway.
Yeah. So, or fuck Pennsylvania, it's right there. So, I mean, yeah, it's a different place, man. So
it is. We don't have that same kind of. It's just not that kind of atmosphere here. And
oh Lord, no, it's huge out here.
Right.
So yeah.
Right.
It's enormous. So
there is something to be said about. Well, then don't be afraid to break up some of these centers over here. It's not doing you any good. Because the great experiment. I mean, this is the thing: is that. COVID as a business experiment exposed some things, right? The fact that the thing that really gets to me, right? The thing in the articles that really got to me, right? When they talked about the diaspora of employees in the Bay Area during COVID, where people, even at that point, there were people that left the Bay Area, right? Because this was all done telecommuting, right? When I read the articles where they're saying employers are begging their employees to come back to the office, I'm like, what fucking world do you live in where it's not an order, where it's not
It's a world where you can get the exact same job with a fucking phone call.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what it is, man. I mean, like you're talking about, it's like, oh well, I'm a Google engineer and I work there 5 days a week, and now I work here remotely 4 days a week, and I mean, it's all asynchronous and stuff. And then Mr. Google Boss Man says, get in the office next week. I say, fuck off. And I call up, like my buddy who works at IBM or whatever. And he's like, oh yeah, we can get you on next week.
That's what I'm saying. That's
the world where dude, the DOD is the exact same way.
Oh,
okay. So my like some of the guys at the yacht club, DOD, okay. And it's the exact same thing. You don't push those guys around like that. Because they'll jet on you, and they're worth a lot of money. So, because if you find somebody to replace them, it's going to take you a while to train them up. It's going to take a while for them to integrate with the team. They're going to walk out with a great skill set, blah, blah, blah. If they're working on proprietary shit, you got to find ways to protect that. There's a million different problems with that, man. So that only exists in an ecosystem where those flowers can live. So
that's what I'm saying is if you could make it work basically with that, right? And you're not housing these people, and you don't have to spend a fortune on the office anymore. Like, I see no reason to stay just like, oh, okay, well, then let's stay here where it's expensive. It's like, no, fucking, like, go to Phoenix, go to New Mexico where you guys like it so much.
I have no idea why. I mean, if I was running a company like that, I'd get the fuck. I'd be like, take one look at my square footage costs. I'd be like, fuck this, burn this shit down. So,
Hey, fact of the matter is, if you were talking about while it was still Twitter and not rebranded to X, they canned 75% of the employees. It works just as well as it did before.
I think most of those companies are full of people who actually don't really do that much. So,
I don't think they are. Yeah,
I don't think so either, and that's fine if they want to spend money on that. Eventually, they'll run out of money.
Yeah.
I mean, we're seeing that with a lot of those tech companies. The great tech boom.
The layoffs have been.
That's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, go out there and there's a lot of other companies downstream out there who need qualified engineers. Go work for one of them. Kind of thing. I mean,
go ahead and do your startups.
Go do your startups, whatever. Yeah. But even that, I just don't think, like, I might be wrong about this, but I mean, like, information technology stuff is just not going to be the future of this country for the next, like, 5 to 10 years.
It's funny. I have a feeling of that, but I can't say why.
So it's like China. So, and, like, it's just the decoupling that's taking place across the world. Like, Apple's turning itself into a bank. So it started out as a hardware company, then it moved to a software company, and then moved.
Well, they're not a software company.
Well, whatever. They built that OS for the Apple, whole thing. I'm not going to argue with you because I don't know all the history behind it.
Well, no, it's one piece of software.
That's fine. Yeah. Okay, but they built an entire ecosystem based upon that piece of software.
Okay, yeah.
And then eventually they turned into a services company, and now they're basically a fucking bank. All right, they're going to be a bank in the future. Yeah. It's not going to manufacture shit. It's not going to develop shit. It's going to use its money to fund things out there and then extract value from them. That's what a bank does. So,
well, it's better than being an American ZAIBATSU.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's not big enough to be that. I mean, American ZAIBATSU would have to be like if you took Walmart and Apple and Amazon
and Wells Fargo
and glued them all together. That would be an American ZAIBATSU.
And Ford.
Ford. Yeah, exactly. So, and Boeing. So, and then on top of it, I mean, pick a steak knife company. So throw it in there. That would be an American ZAIBATSU. So, Apple's not going to be that, and like. And so, but the tech thing in particular is it's not going to be as valuable as like companies that can actually make shit again. So because that's what we kind of need over the next 10, 15 years is companies that can start to make shit, and that might be chips. I mean,
it will definitely be chips. Well, that'll be a part of it.
That'll be a part of it, but that chip fab that's supposed to be going up in Phoenix is taking forever. Apparently, they're punching it through. The rest of TSMC, a big chunk of it just up and rooted and moved itself to Japan over the course of like 6 months. And now it's operating just fine. So, which kind of blew my mind because everybody's like, "Oh, it'll take 5 years," and it's like, actually, they already did it.
Come again?
Come again? Yeah.
No, you're not going to believe it. They just
you're not going to believe it. They put that bitch on wheels and rolled it right up to Japan.
We even had a better idea.
Right.
We just had like 5 guys like disassemble it, put each piece in an Amazon box, and just ship over, and they had guys like put it together.
We had a Prime account.
Yeah. We soaked them for $1.6 billion in fees we saved.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. There's a couple of things that I'm really looking forward to that are going to be game changers, and I think so chips is going to be one of them. It's something that clearly needs to be done.
That's coming back. It's coming back.
There's it's the same.
They're already talking about it here, man. They got a new chip fab that they're trying to get going up back out where the old one was.
The old Intel building.
Yeah, they're not going to use that building. They're going to build a new one. So, but in that area. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, it seems to me like, ever since we sort of drank the globalization Kool-Aid, which we fought off for a long time, but now we're part of. It seems like we have this wave of industries that leave and come back, where it's how much money are we saving by doing this? Because frankly,
Yeah.
you and I, Pat, you and I can talk about the decade where all we did was we talked to Hindis, right? Where
That's gone.
any problem that you had, you knew this was being routed through
Yeah,
fucking India.
that's gone.
But yeah, they found that they lost so much business doing this that it
Mm-hmm.
came back. It was worth it to hire employees, right? Same thing. I think there's going to be a component with this. Like, hey, there's no reason to have this in China now because we're not saving that much money. This place is not the economy it was.
It's very expensive. It's getting dangerous. So as Elon Musk is rapidly finding out, so yeah, they're stealing all of his shit. So like all of it. He's like, no, that's fine. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, hey, check out our copy Cybertruck. We're going to start making hundreds of thousands of these every
Right.
fucking month.
Right. And
Like, wait, whoa, wait, what? So yeah, I mean, fucking the China guys called that one like 4 years ago.
oh yeah,
I
yeah,
know.
I would think he'd have to know,
I don't know how.
but I don't know.
I don't think people around him actually tell him what's going on that much. So, my understanding is he's kind of a scary guy to bring bad news to. So,
Yes.
Yeah. so
I don't know. There's something that personality really works and it really doesn't work. I mean, it's the kind of like nonsense that gets you to do things very well, but it also blows up in your face a lot of times.
yeah,
You know.
can.
But that being said,
But yeah, I think a lot of that stuff it might not come back here, but it'll come back in a way where it'll be closer, and it won't be one of these things where, like, like just about any kind of consumer durable good is going to be fucking cheap. So I mean, you see it in a lot of different things, unless you're buying like,
food.
well, food is never going to be cheap again. So because quite honestly, um, here in the United States, like I don't mind paying extra money for milk because I know it goes to Wisconsin. So I don't mind paying extra money for gas because I know it doesn't go to Saudi Arabia anymore. So that's fine. I do mind paying a lot for my coffee maker.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, and I'm not too thrilled about paying a lot of money for like some of the things that I just know that it's just like it's extraction of value from, my neighbors. I'm not
Right.
happy about that. So, where like even like cars in some respects. I mean, the idea that cars have gotten so expensive is kind of ridiculous. So but if you look at them in some respects, it's like, well, wait a minute, why is that car so fucking expensive like that? So, it's like, well, because like it's made by Toyota. It's like, well, it might be made in Georgia, which helps.
Right.
Okay, but not
Yeah.
all of that money goes to Georgia, does it?
Right.
Kind of thing.
Right.
And it's like, all right, so maybe I don't want that. So, yeah. So, but yeah, milk and gas, I don't really care about. So,
A lot of people do.
I understand, and you'll get used to it over time. So, but again, that money goes to Wisconsin and Alaska. So I'm cool with that. It didn't used to. It didn't used to.
No, I understand. I get where you're coming from. I mean, again, this is just that there are a lot of people hurting.
Yeah.
It's true, and it's things that I don't know. I can't break it all down and say like we should be paying this or this has been undervalued or whatnot. It's really tough. I can get you the numbers. I can show you where. All right, so pay is this, but what they're paying is increase this, so it's a net loss. I get it. I can't do shit about it though.
No, I don't really think anybody can. Well, it's a consequence of having extremely cheap finance for 20 years. So it really is in a lot of respects. But those are the jobs, like your Wall Street jobs. Those are the ones those are the people who are losing their jobs. Your tech bros out there got paid, millions of dollars a year to basically play ping pong. Those jobs are going away so rapidly. So, or being broken up into smaller jobs or whatever,
Right.
you know,
Right.
like Twitter's probably the canary in the coal mine there because it was the most financially unstable of all of them. But you're going to start seeing that in a lot of other ones, especially when AI starts doing a lot of your development work.
Yeah.
So there you go. Okay. So that's fine. That means that the guy who pours concrete out there is going to make a little bit more money because he's actually worth it now. So, you
Right.
know, I don't have any problems with that.
Well, what you're talking about is a potential, and this would be a very interesting thing,
Mm-hmm.
as we've seen certain things come in waves, and seeing that you and I know a little bit about older television, right?
Mm-hmm.
I hate to draw this analogy, but I'm going to do it because you're one of the few people that I don't understand. Like there was a time, like in entertainment, right? And this is all pre-Deliverance. There was a time.
That's an interesting cut point.
There was a time when there was, I don't know what they called it, but it was essentially like a rural boom. There was there was a romanticization and love of basically like farm lifestyle.
Oh,
And
Green Acres days, yeah.
yes,
So
and
yeah.
you know, this is there was a lot of that, and I think that there's, you know, a possibility that if what you're seeing is that like truck drivers and mechanics and concrete guys are starting to, if they're the ones that have the money, they're starting to be more respected, you know,
Oh
places,
yeah.
then yeah, this could be something where we start changing to look at the way that we value labor
Hmm?
in the States again. Because
Yeah.
really, let's be honest, money talks.
It does. I think that's absolutely where we're going. I think we're seeing the first signs of that in some respects just by taking a look at how much fast food workers make. So, you know, and the fact that like fast food restaurants, you're not going to find one in the fucking country that's not hiring right now.
Right.
Okay.
Even though the shit's expensive.
It needs to be expensive. So, you know, at this point in time, because otherwise, like, it's going to fucking close. Okay. So if I have like 5 guys on shift and I'm going to pay that much money for each one of them, because otherwise they'll walk on me and go work somewhere else. Okay. What the fuck am I supposed to do? Eat that?
Well,
Yeah.
so what I can tell you is, yeah. So I just researched this the other day because I was submitting this as a summary. So McDonald's profits are down this next quarter, but they're still good.
Yeah.
This is the weird thing.
Is this McDonald's Corporation?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, that model might actually fucking die, so in some respects, because if you have a monster corporation sitting over all your franchisees who are dying, so somebody's going to get slaughtered.
Well, and so that was the thing is so the actual number is, all right. So if you look at the measurement was 2014 to 2024, right?
Wow, a 10-year horizon?
This is what they were measuring. In the article, it was, well, this is what they were measuring was that costs, prices of goods, of the menu items, okay, increased at double the inflation.
Over the past 10 years?
Yes.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
That is correct.
I wonder why that is.
And within that, certain items had gone up 199%.
Meat.
Well, and, okay, not so meat goes in pretty much everything they make, right?
Right.
But we're talking about the actual like menu items themselves. So like specifically the dollar menu items
Oh, yeah.
had gone up quite a
The
bit.
dollar menu is something that you and I will never see again in our life.
Well, that's not necessarily what they're finding here is that there are a lot of fast food restaurants that have actually shifted to try and get that back because there is a market that they're losing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And the market that they're losing is the low income market.
Well, yeah, yeah.
And that's what they have to retool for is there were other people it's like, yeah, I have to pay $28, but fuck it.
Yeah.
Right. But the people that are not shopping there are the lower. That's what they've lost.
Yeah, but wonder if like the lower income market has always been, you know, like, I mean, you go back and you watch that movie with Ray Kroc and stuff like
Yeah.
that. You know, McDonald's isn't a low income restaurant at that point in time. It's for middle class people. And so, you know,
Well,
I mean,
then, yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
I know, but it changed over time. It's just kind of like wondering about that in some respects. I mean, like I saw this thing on the other day about the classic diner. So, you know, and how they've been gone for a while.
Yeah.
But there's always been this like model for, you know, like low income eateries that are based on, not necessarily good service or wide selection, which is what all your fast food restaurants are supposed to do. So you get it fast and you get it right every single time.
Yeah.
But it was more on the idea you get a lot of food for very little amount of money.
Right.
And so that's why, you have the daily special, okay? And the daily special is always the same price. It's always a shitload of food, but you don't get to tell me, that you want your steak medium rare, kind of thing.
Right.
Now, that's something that has been dying for a long time. Maybe it's time for that to come back in some respects. Who knows? So, but, I know, so almost all of your major fast food chains, especially the ones that are owned, like Yum owns shitloads of them. These are finance companies. They're not restaurants, okay? McDonald's isn't a fucking restaurant. It's a finance company, okay? So how do you think they actually get their franchisees in the door? So they turn around and say, hey, you got $1 million. That's your pay to play, okay? And then we're going to build you a building. We're going to finance that. We're going to give you your inventory. We're going to finance that. Okay, we're going to give you all your employee policies and procedures, and we're going to back you up with your insurance that is going to be financed. And so this all works great in 0% financing when you can go to the Fed window and get free money.
Yep.
It doesn't work anymore, man. So, I don't know, man. Maybe a company like me, I was just lapping it up the other day watching, the Wall Street Journal was just all over Starbucks the other day. They're just pounding them. And Howard Schultz, who I can't believe is still the fucking CEO.
Why? Because he's made every mistake you can and still...
I don't know, man, but he is the founder. So he's one of those few companies that you can find back from the 1990s who was the founder. Okay? Yeah. Bill Gates isn't the founder anymore. Steve Jobs is dead. So,
and you know why he's dead, Patrick?
Because he was an angry little man.
That's part of it.
We see what happens when you hold your shit in too long.
We're all aware that he died of cancer, yes?
Yes.
Okay. My understanding, and this is a sort of, I don't know if it's relatively new information or not, but he didn't really believe in traditional medicine.
I did hear, yes, that's an old story. It's been around for a long time. Yeah. So he was going to use, he's not a pray the cancer away kind of guy. He was a
the other direction.
The other direction, yes. Yeah, he was yoga.
Right. You don't pray it away, you stretch it away.
Right, you stretch it away and use chamomile.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just the kind of thing that I saw with stretching or massage or both.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Cancer?
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, they were pounding the shit out of that guy. And so, because there's what? People are going to pay $9 for a latte right now, In fact, I don't think very many people are going to pay for $5 anymore, which they were perfectly fine with the other day. And you know what? It was weird, dude. I was driving back down from up north the other day, and remember, you and I used to, as we go to Dutch Brothers first.
Yeah.
It was always packed.
Yeah.
It's deserted, bro. It is deserted. So...
Well, let's remember... One of the reasons we were going there was because it was pandemic time.
Yeah, I know, but even past pandemic time, you'd always see 4 or 5 or 6 cars in there.
4 or 5 or 6 cars, or if it's and still if you're out and about at 8 a.m, it still has a line around the block.
Yeah, but this was not at 8 o'clock in the morning.
No.
So, but it was definitely at a time where I would expect more than 0 cars. So
yes,
and there were distinctly 0 cars.
Yeah,
so,
where you needed fucking Chunkosaurus Rex, the security guard, to maintain law and order.
I hope that guy's okay. So
I would like to think that he's now in an office somewhere monitoring other security guys.
I would hope that he's quite a bit, that he got over his desire to continue eating like the Marine that he used to be.
Correct. Yeah.
And is now coaching kids about
right.
I'm gonna put the most positive spin on this, I think.
No, of course.
Because sometimes it does work out for people.
Sometimes it does, and sometimes guys do eventually remember. It's like, oh, that's right. I haven't played offensive line in high school in 9 years.
Right.
So the 14 egg breakfast, I think.
That's part of it. I gotta tell you, the other thing is that thing that you and I were talking about a couple of weeks ago. Right. I witnessed this happen the other day.
Yeah.
Where it was I don't know when I'm going to eat again.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, bro, you're not in the Army anymore, okay?
Yeah.
So you can plan exactly when you're going to eat again. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. So, like you're not going to get ambushed between here and there. You're
Right.
not going to get pulled on duty again and,
Right.
and go another 12 hours before you hit the chow hall or, get another MRE or whatever. Okay, so you don't have to eat all of that fast, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man, it is wild. You go to conferences or you go to meetings or stuff like that. It's like I can tell exactly what your childhood was like by watching you eat, because
When you're using the donut to scrape the stuff off the plate, come on, man.
and so it's that, and it's you have that behavior, and you have the people that clearly like they didn't have that relationship with the food, so they leave weird things behind of what they're eating. Like they'll just like come through like half through the sandwich, see something that they don't like, eat around it, and they'll just leave that part there. Right? It's like you grew up in a house that ate for pleasure, not for satiety.
Oh, yeah.
And then you will also see that group of people that they're gonna wait until you all walk away, and then they're gonna start putting leftover sandwiches
Yes.
in your bag.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah. So, yeah. See, like the eating habits of people are
So telling.
they are so telling.
Yes.
But like I'm kind of curious now, if that will change in some respects. We'll see. So, we might see more leftover people, man.
Might be more leftover people. Look, we didn't fight the communists here.
We didn't fight the communists here.
Yeah, so I understand.
Yeah, but my mother and her Depression era parents were definitely those people who would, it's like, well, I need a box for that, of course.
Correct. But
it's like, Mom, are you going to eat those carrots?
anytime you see somebody taking home French fries,
Right, yes. She's do that all the time, yeah.
which reheat like shit, let's look. I'll just say it. We're not starving raccoons, so don't eat like one.
Don't eat one. That's why. That's wisdom. We're going to end on wisdom.
Okay.
So, don't raccoon it out. I'm Pat.
I'm Jeffrey.
I'm hitting the button.
Yeah.
Stay away from that trash can.
Yeah.